Hello everyone, Inquisitor Vaughn here, and in today's video I would like to continue with our Cursed Founding series by going into the lore for the Sons of Antaeus. The Sons of Antaeus are one of the 7 Space Marine chapters said to have been created as part of the Cursed Founding, and in today's video we will be going into what lore we can find for them and filling in any gray areas with theories and speculations like we normally do. According to available information, the Sons of Antaeus are an Ultramarines chapter successor that was created during M36 as part of the Cursed Founding. The chapter's color scheme is recorded to be gray and black, but their heraldry is officially unknown to the Imperium of Man. We do have artwork of their heraldry being a kind of hog or a warthog of some sort, but that's not official, so we don't actually have any information on their heraldry. Almost nothing else is known about this chapter except that they were involved in the 3rd Interguild War of the Inca sector, located in the Ultima Segmentum, during which they answered the call of the Guild Fathers of that sector to assist with combating Xenos that were sent by rival guilds. What is recorded about the chapter is taken from the perspective of a Captain Rackman of the Subjugator chapter. Finding his own forces surrounded by the Eldari, the Sons of Antaeus appeared suddenly from behind the Eldari forces and provided a near-endless barrage of firepower from that position. When the Eldari returned fire, Rackman was awed to see that the Sons of Antaeus stood unflinchingly, surviving their deadly salvos where his own Marines would have succumbed to the damage being dealt. Seizing the opportunity, the Subjugators returned fire and the Eldari were caught in a crossfire between the two chapters until they were eliminated. When the conflict was over, the Sons of Antaeus disappeared as silently as they had arrived. Captain Rackman's account is the only official record of the chapter in battle, but there are said to be other records as well. What is known about this chapter, based on these accounts, is that the Sons of Antaeus are significantly larger than standard Astartes, and that they appear to be tougher than standard Astartes as well, said to withstand more damage. There is a theory that their durability and height are due to modifications to their skeletal structure. So, standard Space Marines have 19 organs implanted into them in order to transform their bodies from regular human bodies into Adeptus Astartes. One of these organs is called the os medulla, and it's the second gene seed organ to be implanted into an initiate Space Marine. This organ is surgically implanted into the initiate's brain, besides the human pituitary gland. The os medulla then secretes a human-engineered growth hormone that changes the body of the recruit. Supplemented by a diet of food laced with microscopic ceramic minerals, this organ increases the size of the initiate's skeletal structure, so that around 2 years after the organ is implanted, the initiate is 7 to 7.5 feet tall. In addition, their skeletal structures are significantly thicker, strengthened, and the individual bones of the Astartes ribcage are fused together, creating a protective shell of bone around his vital organs. In short, the os medulla makes the Marine taller than standard humans, it gives them stronger bones, and it fuses their ribcage in order to protect their vital organs. This organ works in cooperation with the other gene seed organs so that the Marine develops an equivalent muscle mass and oxygen production system enough to accommodate the changes initially made by the os medulla. All Astartes have this organ, but only some Astartes were said to be larger than standard after becoming an Astartes. For example, Alexis Pollux of the Imperial Fist Legion was a huge Astartes that stood so tall that he could nearly look Rabute Gilliman, a Primarch, in the face. Tiberos the Red Wake from the Cargaridons, Abaddon from the Black Legion, Arjak Rockfist of the Space Wolves, and many others. But what they all have in common is that they were all tall before becoming Astartes, so the transformation had the same effect on them by increasing their size, making them even larger than other Astartes. Because their human bodies were the source of this height, their Astartes organizations as a whole were standard size. They were just anomalies. Furthermore, though the Primarchs themselves varied in height, their height is something that was not inherited by the Marines of their legions. This potentially indicates that the source of the Sons of Antaeus' height has to do with their gene seed and possible modifications to it. As said earlier, the Sons of Antaeus are recorded to be an Ultramarines successor chapter. However, the Ultramarines do not list the chapter as being amongst their battle brothers, and it's not known if communication has ever occurred between the two. Being that their gene seed has a confirmed lineage, but the chapter is not embraced by that lineage, indicates that their gene seed is legitimately deviant in some way. The Ultramarines are known for being particular about gene seed purity, as their gene seed is already known for its stability and lack of mutation. They have been known to reject lineage with other chapters that claim to be Ultramarines but deviate genetically. The chapter's name, Sons of Antaeus, hints at Greek mythology, and in official accounts, the mythology is referenced as the inspiration for the chapter's name. In Terran mythology, Antaeus was the son of gods who was known for his strength. Interestingly enough, he is more so known for his defeat when he faced off against Hercules. There is a Deathwatch character who is said to have been a son of Antaeus who makes a comment that no son of Antaeus has ever been beaten on solid ground. It's a subtle reference to the myth of Antaeus, who got his strength from the earth but was beaten when Hercules lifted him off the ground. However, I think that if the Sons of Antaeus were named after this mythological figure, then it was a bad choice of reference. Instead, I think that if the chapter was named after anyone, it might have been the name of the person who founded the chapter, or they might have been named by a place called Antaeus. I say this because, just to compare, the Ultramarines have a successor chapter called the Sons of Orar, and Orar was a well-known captain of the Ultramarines that the chapter idolized. There are the Sons of Medusa, which are an Iron Hands successor chapter named after their homeworld, and during the Horus Heresy, the Luna Wolves became the Sons of Horus, named after their Primarch. There are no records of any Ultramarines called Antaeus in available records. There also were no Primarchs named Antaeus, so I would speculate that Antaeus is either the chapter master's name, or that Antaeus is where the chapter hails from in some way. Going further, there is no recorded planet within the Imperium of Man's possession named Antaeus, and the only character that shares the name of Antaeus was a legionnaire of the Emperor's Children Legion during the Great Crusade. So, Antaeus is likely the name of the chapter master of this chapter. Going back to the nature of their gene seed, for an entire chapter of Space Marines to be composed of larger than normal Astartes does suggest that this might be due to manipulations done to their gene seed. This chapter is, after all, said to have been one of the chapters created as part of the Homo sapiens Novus project, and the goal of said project was to get rid of flaws in gene seed and to create more Primarch-like Space Marines. There is no available information stating that there have been any chapters that have developed flaws around their os medulla or their height. So, if the Sons of Antaeus are the results of the Homo sapiens Novus project, they are likely the results of an attempt to create Primarch-like Astartes. Hypothetically, the way this turned out was creating larger and more durable Marines, which fits with what the Janitors of Inculaba could have actually meant when they said Primarch-like. Which would mean that if the Sons of Antaeus were created as part of the project, then they were successful, at least to some degree. But just attributing their build and stature on one gene seed organ doesn't do it justice. All the gene seed organs work together to create and sustain an Astartes. Therefore, it can't just be the os medulla that lends to the size and durability of the Astartes in the Sons of Antaeus. If the os medulla was improved in some way, then the biscopia is also improved, which is behind the muscle mass of the Astartes, and so on and so on. In my last video for the Blood Gorgons, I mentioned that for each of the curse founding chapters, the explanation of the curse founding is slightly unique in a way that I think can indicate more information about the chapter. With the Sons of Antaeus, there is no information saying that the curse founding chapters were made to fight chaos like how it says for the Blood Gorgons. However, there are two pieces of information that are unique to the Sons of Antaeus information. One is that Fabius Bile has taken particular interest in the curse founding chapters, as he himself has been attempting to improve upon the Emperor's work just in his own ways. The second piece of information emphasizes that the modifications done to the curse founding chapters have led to many of them having difficulty growing their numbers. This is due to them either being hunted by the Inquisition for having modifications that were a bit too crazy, or due to the modifications themselves. This information makes me think it's possible that even though the Sons of Antaeus are technically a success of the Homo sapiens Novus project, there is still some flaw or fault to them. And if the Inquisition is not hunting them down, at least we don't have any information on that, then the problem might be in their ability to recruit new members into the chapter. With the Sons of Antaeus, this problem wouldn't be a problem of attrition, but one of endurance. It can be reasonably assumed that because they are so tough, they don't die as frequently as other Marines of other chapters. But what I'm curious about is the induction process. If most or all of the gene seed organs are twice as effective, producing taller, stronger, and more durable Marines, could this make the gene seed fatal to new recruits? If we compared the process of creating a Son of Antaeus to the process of making a Primaris Marine, hypothetically speaking, the Sons of Antaeus gene seed procedure itself is standard. It's just the organs that were modified. With Primaris Marines, there are additional organs which assist with making larger Marines with these extra organs implanted at opportune times to allow for a smooth transition. With Primaris Marines, the Osmedulla does its thing, then the Biscopia does its thing, and then the Magnificat does its thing, which increases the size of the bone structure even more. With the Sons of Antaeus, their Osmedulla is implanted, then their Biscopia is implanted. There is no third organ to help boost the growth and manage the processes of the two organs, but the result is significantly larger Astartes in the same amount of time as a standard Marine takes to see the results. What I'm getting at here is, I think it could be possible that due to the modifications done to the gene seed, the recruits grow too much too fast for the process to be 100% safe, and this could lead to higher than regular fatality rates in their induction process. If that's the case, then how was the chapter created in the first place? Let's say, for theory's sake, that the gene seed of the Sons of Antaeus was created by implanting a gene seed organ into a gene slave that had been previously modified to be larger than standard humans. Couldn't it be possible that those modifications would somehow pass on to the gene seed organs themselves? In the second Curse Founding video, I shared the theory that what was happening on Inculaba was the creation of modified humans whose genetic information would be used to create new Space Marines. Basically, that the genitors were creating fake Primarchs. Because of this, I stated that any flaws that the gene seed had didn't come from the gene seed itself, because the organs were considered successful enough to be used in creating new Space Marine chapters. The flaws had to come from the host of the gene seed. The flaws came from the gene slaves. If we think about the Primarchs, any quote-unquote flaws that appeared in their Astartes came from them, or modifications done to them by the Emperor, with additional factors like environments and practices bringing these things to the surface. I think the Space Wolves and the Blood Angels are good points of comparison for the theory I'm making. With Leman Russ, the Emperor added genetic information. He added the Canis Helix, and this genetic information was passed down to his legion through his gene seed, so now all Space Wolves have the Canis Helix in them through their gene seed. With Sanguinius, the cannibalistic red thirst has been suggested to have been sourced from his DNA, from Sanguinius's human body, like a recessive trait, that was brought to the surface through the Legion's practices. The point is, these modifications and flaws were passed down, so it's more than possible that the modifications to improve upon the Sons of Antaeus gene seed were passed down from the gene slave host used to create it. Continuing further with the comparison to the Space Wolves, the early Space Wolves were temperamentally unstable due to the Canis Helix in their gene seed. When the Legion was reunited with Russ, the Emperor edited the gene seed implantation procedure using genetic information collected from Russ. Before the recruit could be implanted with the gene seed, they had to first ingest the Canis Helix, which caused preliminary transformations to the body of the recruit that would help him to be able to survive the actual gene seed implantation. It would also allow for a higher degree of self-control, despite the bestial visage the Marine had because of the change in process. However, this also made it possible for the Marine to become unstable, lose control, and succumb to the Canis Helix, transforming the recruit into a mindless beast. If the Sons of Antaeus chapter gene seed induction process might be fatal to the new recruits, could it have been possible that there had to be preliminary steps to assure that it wouldn't be? Could the recruits have been modified before implantation to increase the odds of survival? And could that still be fatal to them? I think it's possible, and that this could lead to issues of the chapter regrowing its numbers, hence its cursed status. As I said earlier, not much is known about this chapter. We don't know any of its characters, we don't know their war cry, we don't know their heraldry, or even if the chapter still exists. But from what we can gather, the Marines of this chapter are larger than standard Astartes, and the source of their flaw may not be in the gene seed organs, but rather from the host used to create the gene seed organs. Despite the lack of more information on this chapter, I theorize that unlike the Lamenters and the Blood Gorgons, the Sons of Antaeus are legitimate creations of the Homo sapiens Novus Project. Before we end the video, I wanted to talk about a theory that has been stated in official sources concerning this chapter. There's a reference where it says that those who have seen the Sons of Antaeus can't help but compare their toughness to the Death Guard traitor Marines. To make such a comparison is heresy, because the Death Guard are traitors whose physical toughness is only due to their corruption and devotion to the Chaos God Nurgle. However, this reference has inspired some in the community to theorize that the Sons of Antaeus might actually be Death Guard successors. I believe this to be false because, as we went over in my Mortarian Primarch video, the Death Guard weren't externally strong, they were internally strong, meaning that they could survive in certain environments due to their genetics and their will. They survived better in toxic environments, and they were attrition fighters since being a human population on Terra, so they endured as a collective, showing strength. But individually, Death Guard were not physically larger or stronger, but I understand the comparison. I actually don't think who the gene seed came from is important so long that it was a stable Primarch. However, if for some reason the Ultramarines don't claim the Sons of Antaeus because they are legitimately not descended from Guilliman, then I theorize that the Sons of Antaeus might actually be Iron Hand's successors for a few reasons. Number one being that since emerging from his gestation pod on a Medusa, Ferrus Manus was driven by a desire to master his body and increase his strength over the machine that he would have to hunt as part of his rite of passage. Even after he received his metal hands, he speaks of returning his legion to the mysteries of flesh and bone because their dependence on the machine has become a hindrance. I theorized in my Ferrus Manus Primarch video that if not for their desire to modify their bodies with augmentations, the Iron Hands Legion would be the physically strongest legion due to their desire to be strong, and if a successor chapter was made from Ferrus Manus's gene seed, that desire would be present, just without the indoctrination of the Iron Hands traditions. Last but not least, in his pursuit of increasing his own strength, Ferrus Manus would push the limits of his body. He would climb mountains and he would swim deep oceans. He would even fight with the mysterious storm giants on Medusa well before he earned his metal hands. He would even challenge the Emperor and fight him before submitting to him because Ferrus Manus could never submit to anyone who wasn't stronger than him. Due to this connection to physical strength and toughness, and the mythological character being known for the same thing, if Ferrus Manus could have had another name, it would have been Antaeus. Well, that was my dive into the Sons of Antaeus. I know this was a very short and brief video, but I hope you all enjoyed it. Let me know what you think in the comments below. But without anything else to say, Inquisitor Vaughn out. Remember, the Emperor protects and the future is successor.